Welcome to another edition of A Strange New Pod. I am your captain and host, Julian Brown. And to put your mind at ease, no Borg babies were harmed during the making of this podcast. We promise. Alongside me, as always, is the best bridge crew this side of a crystalline entity, the Borg Queen of Puns herself, Lieutenant Brittany, who would absolutely win in a pun off against Alice Courage. And you would. Lieutenant Hawk, who is wondering why there isn't a red matter simulation with Eric Bana. Like, why?
It didn't happen.
I saw it happen. I didn't. It wasn't there. What happened? Oh man, glory to you and your houses. How are you guys doing tonight?
You know how I'm really doing?
How are you really doing?
Yes.
I'm in a state of chaos because now I'm thinking we really do need those Baby on Borg t-shirts that I mentioned a while ago.
Oh my God.
That pun I made forever ago.
Yeah.
I was like, Baby on Borg?
Oh,
Now there were Borg babies, so like, it's going to end up being a pin or a t-shirt or something. So other than that, okay, I guess just exhausted.
We're going to have to make that happen. It's going to happen.
Baby on Borg.
it will happen.
I'm sure it exists somewhere, but ours will be cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll have like a 7 of 9 chance in getting one that, you know, is a different color.
Boom.
There's the first one.
Fun fact time.
Oh, that's the wrong button.
Fun fact time.
Yeah, there's the first
it.
one.
Get off my bridge.
That was the right button.
An
There
honor
we
and
go.
a privilege.
An honor and a privilege. Guys, Rear Admiral Eric and Ensign Admiral Aaron are still in their training pods trying for a perfect score. We'll hopefully see them next week. But I will wet your whistles a little bit and
Ooh.
get your curiosity going to our Patreon collective, who we will mention in just a few minutes here. Stay tuned for a very special surprise coming your way tomorrow in the afternoon sometime with myself and Ensign Admiral Aaron. And that is all I will say. It is going to be really good, though, and I'm super excited. So, to our Twitch collective, speaking of you awesome folks, keep your comments, questions coming all night long. We want to hear from you this week. It's Training Day. That was a really wild movie, by the way. Won Best Picture some years ago. Yep. Ensigns and captains, ensigns are captains, and captains are ensigns. So, you know, fun times. We have Easter eggs galore and some amazing moments in this episode. We review and unpack Excretus.
Ew, you're unpacking Excretus.
I am. It's gross. So
The show
gross.
loves his shit jokes.
They really do. But before we get to that, Brittany, we need to thank our Patreon collective members at the Ready Room level and above.
I want to give a shout out to our awesome patron collective members: Simon Steger, Jeff Reeve, Mariah Gossett, Spotted Giraffe, Rob, Jen Stein, Tina Alexander, Joe Saporito, Noe Santos, Kang Hui, Haven, Takako Nagumo, Kara Kennedy, Mark, Fernanda Nogales, SMK, Ian Davies, and Amy Grace. Grace.
Woo, woo, woo. Thank you guys, as always, for being members of our Patreon collective. You rock. We can do a lot of the fun stuff that we do these days without you. So to find out more about how you can join our collective, usually Eric has the fancy things at the bottom. I don't, but you could just go to strangenewpod.com. Hey, there's the Discord warning saying we went live finally. How about that? Go to strangenewpod.com, hit the join the collective button, and yeah, good things on there. Fun things on the Patreon. We have pins coming up for our 10 forward members, which are going to be exciting. We also have some other Discovery stuff in the works for that November 18th season 4 launch. So
Whoop, whoop.
yeah, stick around for that. Yeah, we're going to get right along. It's probably going to be a short show. There's only 3 of us today, guys. Let's get to my favorite segment, and that is the Strange in the Loop. And I'm asking you guys, and of course myself and Twitch this week, if you could create your own training simulation, what would it be?
I have one.
Go, hit it.
It would be Star Trek martial arts, right? But not just like a training program in the holodeck, like, you know, normal fights or whatever, random space kung fu they want to do. It would be stuff like you have a mountain you have to climb with like pails of water that you carry, but hold on. The pails of water are really just Odos in buckets, and you gotta like, you know, walk up. Everything would just be layers upon layers of different like Star Trek random shit that you see in episodes that you're just like, oh god.
Okay,
Yeah,
Odo
that'd be
pails.
great.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
Odo in a bucket. Gotta carry him up the mountain. Good luck.
Good luck. Because what, he would just like randomly shift into heavier things?
But you just always like melt into like where they're like, where does Odo sleep? He just like is in a bucket because he becomes water. You're like, okay, man, sure.
It's wild.
Bring the Odo to the top of the mountain, pour it down the waterfall. I don't even know. It'd be ridiculous.
Hawk, how about you?
This episode did such a good job of going through all the various like kind of simulations that what the wild ones that we really want to go through. So I don't know. The one thing that they didn't tackle though, how to get 2 whales back in time.
Yes.
Ooh,
That's a good one.
love it. I love it.
So many things could go wrong.
So many things could go wrong. Oh man.
Oh,
you
I
could-
was thinking lizard baby herder,
Yeah,
but I didn't
Yeah.
know if that counted.
sure. Yeah, you could end up bringing the wrong species of whale back. I mean, that would be disastrous. There was
Yeah, it
supposed to
would
be
be terrible.
humpbacks, not
Yeah.
killer.
We're
all
bringing
fucked now.
humpback. Yeah.
Oh god. Lexi wrote Odo in a bucket. Got to climb him up the mountain. Sounds like an inspirational metaphor.
Exactly. It would just
Oh.
be like, but every layer of the mountain would have some other challenge. Like it would just be ridiculous.
Haven does bring up the good point that Quark has some experience with that when their runabout crashes and they're deserted
Yeah.
for a while and he's got to like take care of Odo. Yeah.
Well,
That's a
one
good
of them,
episode.
it would be like one of those things where they're like, snatch this from my hand, but it's like a Ferengi with like a piece of latinum, and they're like, good luck trying to get this out of my damn hand. If you pass this, you are a master.
Yeah. I have a great one. I think it's a great one. Prevent the Nexus wave from destroying the system and save
Oh.
Captain Kirk
Colossus.
in Star Trek Generations.
I mean,
Prevent Kirk from dying horribly.
Give
That's
him a
valid.
better death.
Give him a better death. And I would want to see high scores because everyone, even a child, could do Kirk's death better.
could
Star
one
Trek
be like
Generation.
Nexus ribbon weaving?
Make the perfect
Just like the
Nexus
most ridiculous simulations are like, if you were a Q being and none of this matters, tie the Nexus ribbon.
ribbon. Anybody else on Twitch? I mean, listen, that was quick. Do we want to do another? Let's go around one more time because those were
Oh,
fun.
now I gotta think.
Yeah, now you got to think.
Yeah, no.
Well,
think.
I did think. That's the thing. I put all
Well,
my energy into
think
that one.
more. Think more.
God, let me think of something funny. It could be good.
I you know what I did like, and we're gonna talk about it in the review, but the search for Spock, like them going through the doors and Ransom comes in. He's like, that's gotta be a record. Do you think back to season 1 when Rutherford killed all the kids? And he's like, oh, that's gotta be a record. Like Ransom's like monitoring all the records being broken in not a good way on the Cerritos.
You know, it'd be
Nothing pleases-
good. Like a time, like a temporal causality loop.
Mm,
Like one
Yep.
of those simulations where it doesn't have to be like the party from Disco, but that would be really funny to see them try to do. Where it's just like, is this Harry Mudd? God damn it! Like in Lower Decks. But
oh,
I feel like a good time loop one is always ridiculous
Yeah.
because they did the Mirrorverse, one, and that one was funny. So
yeah.
Well, those
I feel like you
those
need
ones
to.
were up on the board, as I remember correctly.
Yeah, they were. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hawk, did you have another?
I'm trying to think of a good one. Oh, TOS when Spock had to go undercover on the Romulan ship as a defector, and that get the cloaking shield and back to the ship. That would be an excellent.
Wait, wasn't
simulation.
that? Oh yes, it was Spock and Kirk, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That just had its anniversary like 3 days ago. I think that was an Enterprise incident, right?
Actually, speaking of anniversaries, today is the 30th anniversary of the premiere of Darmok.
It is.
Oh,
Shaka when the walls fell.
when the walls fell.
I
What
have
if the
another.
simulation was just that?
Yeah. Oh, trying to
Whole
figure out their
Darmok
language.
Yeah, Jesus.
You
Um,
have to. That's perfect.
my next one would be Drumhead. get through an admiral who's lost her mind trying to like bring down everybody on a starship.
Year of Hell.
Yeah,
Just
here.
the whole simulation of Year of Hell. I didn't know we could just pick episodes. I was like, this is easier. I thought I had to like make up my own new Star
Oh
Trek.
no.
I was like,
It's
this
all
is so
from Star
hard.
Trek. It's all from Starfleet history and that. So you can
Yep.
just
Mine is
you
just
can
an
really just
ancient
parry check.
mountain filled with Easter eggs. You're
Yes.
welcome.
Yes. All right, guys, let's get into our review of Lower Deck Season 2, Episode 8, Excretus. And no, I'm not pooping or whatever. There's no
I
excrement.
mean, it sounds like you
here.
are.
Yeah, maybe I am.
Excretus.
Maybe I am.
We put the us in Excretus.
We do. Brittany, you're up first this week. What did you think about this episode?
I really love this episode. And I know I say that about every episode of this show, or almost every episode, but it really felt like the heart and soul of what the show is about. Like, I'd use this as an episode to suggest to somebody who wants to start or like wants to get into Lower Decks or like, what's the show about? Because as much as I'd start them with the first episode to be like, well, let's see their journey, I would also be like, watch this one. If you don't enjoy the Easter eggs and stuff, like say they already knew Star Trek. I'm like, if you don't enjoy this and the Easter eggs, like then you're probably not gonna like Lower Decks. But yeah, I would use that as like a gateway one. And I just love that by the end, as always, the crew learns a lesson that literally no one was fucking trying to teach them. Like, it is my favorite thing. They always come up with their own morals and like lessons at the end. And half the time you're like, literally nobody wanted you to learn this, but I love that that's what you got from this scenario. But man, the Easter eggs are great. I love how far the characters have come, and like it was just so wholesome. Like by the end I was just like, oh, I love this crew. They're like, it's easily like arguably my favorite Star Trek show, where I'm just like, I love this crew, I love this group, I love their fucking shenanigans.
It's so good. It's so good.
And that's all I'll say.
Fair. Hawk.
Same. I'm gonna. This season has so far. There's been no major disappointments for me so far, and we're at episode 8, right?
Yeah.
There's only 2 more episodes left in the season than that, and I can't think of one that I strongly disagreed or disliked. And this is just another example. Yeah, it's that I love that they thought they were trying to be taught a lesson about how officers don't understand the problems of the lower decks people, and lower decks people don't understand the problems of the of the officers, and that and the fact that their own instructor was trying for something else was fantastic. Also that as I said, we go through this every week. This mundane stuff is also followed by some of the weirdest chaos you could imagine.
Mm-hmm. The fact that they're like, let's just go into a black hole with a temporal paradox or whatever the hell that was, and she's like, this is normal for us.
A black hole being attacked by a temporal paradox, crystalline entities, and that mating.
Yeah. Ooh, a lot of crystalline entities
Yeah,
this
it
week.
must be crystalline entity season.
So good.
It's just a solid episode. My only complaint this episode was not enough Tendi and Rutherford, I noticed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Tendi had like the one like Worf suicide moment, and that was it, which was really funny though.
I know we'll talk about this when we get to Easter egg hunt, but like that was also hilarious since we recently watched the Enterprise like first episode, and they had that one Klingon in it, and it was like that scenario where he was like dying.
It was. He
and they
looked
had to,
very similar to him. Yeah, that's
and
also.
I know there's a lot of episodes where that happens in our shows, but
that's a whole. Yeah, that was a whole episode. Worf had his back.
Worf broke his back.
Yeah,
and it was like paralyzed
like,
and asked Alexander to kill him, and Alexander wouldn't kill him, and then he asked Riker to kill him, and Riker was like, nah.
No, exactly.
And then the surgeon came in, was like, I know this experimental surgery, and Beverly was like, nah, and she's like, guess what, I'm doing the experimental surgery, you don't have a choice. And Beverly was like, all right. So
okay,
you take chances right through living flesh.
Yep, we should watch that episode. It's a really good episode, actually. Okay, so I really was disappointed with the episode following episode 5, which was like so good, right? Like that 5th episode was so good. But ever since that 6th episode, like these past 2 episodes have just been absolutely freaking fantastic. I loved all the references in this episode. And I know that I said that last week, like Lower Decks really came into its own as being its own series and not having to rely on Easter eggs. And of course, this episode goes right back to like, this is an Easter egg episode. That is what this episode is. But it doesn't matter because they do it so freaking well. And guess what? It actually makes perfect sense in the scenario that they're doing. Like they're not doing Easter eggs for the sake of like, for the sake of doing it and to like appease fans. They're doing it because it made a funny episode and they made it their own. And that's what this show has been doing now for 2 3/4 of a season of seasons, like making it their own while paying homage to all of these series that we grew up with and loved. And man, did they just do it so freaking well. I mean, listen, dare I say, this episode took the Naked Time and the Naked Now further than TOS or TNG did. Like, holy shit.
That was one of my favorite
Yeah.
references in the episode. I was just like, Jesus. Like, as soon as you see the like blood smeared on the walls or spray paint, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it, I was just
Sinners
like,
repent.
oh God.
Love mankind.
Sinners repent.
So yeah, like I love this show. I loved every single moment. My only complaint, and I have one major complaint at the end, when Mariner and Freeman are confronting the trainer, like, why would the trainer like fill them in on her master plan? Like, she could just could be like, you guys suck. You are what you are. You're a California class. I'm out. Bye. But then she's like, oh no, I'm failing you on. Go ahead.
Because she didn't realize Boimler was still in the thing. Because she was like, you guys failed. This is what it is. Like, now my program can continue. And then Mariner's like, no, there's still one person left. So she's like, fuck.
Boimler going
Yeah.
for not even 100%, going for like 102%,
Yeah.
because and he would have gotten it.
It's like
too.
Starfleet.
Yeah, he would have gotten it too, which is
That's
so
the
sad.
thing, though. It's like she rigged that, so I don't think he would have ever been able to reach it, but he would never have stopped trying to reach 100.
Yeah. Well, at the end, he did have it. He was like, I'm about to close this out at 100. And they're like, stay in, dear God. And he's like, okay.
Lexi
Aw.
goes, Mike McMahon is one very horny man. And that's
I think it's a group effort, you know? Like, you have to be an animator who's like, I want to draw this.
dude, and the
Like, the
animation
ideas are
worked. It was good. Like,
I have
I was-
so many. We need to move on because I want to put my backgrounds up.
I was, yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little turned on. Like, that was a good scene. Like, well
Like
done,
Mariner.
animators.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, like, cannot avert my eyes. Yeah. So I love this episode. Obviously, we'll get into all the Easter eggs, but I do have to say, I was kind of like poking you guys over the past couple weeks to watch the screeners that we had gotten, because when I watched this episode with Karen, when Alice Courage, or the Borg Queen, came in, I was like, wait, is that
Mhm.
is it
It's definitely her voice.
is it?
It is.
And then
It's a very
like the
distinctive
first thing
voice.
that comes in at the end credits is special guest star Alice Courage, and
Great.
I stood up and lost my shit. I was like, oh my God, because people like, and I'm gonna get all internet annoyed for a second. Like, people were bitching and moaning online about, oh well, like, Annie Wershing, why is she the Borg Queen of Picard now? Like, where's Alice Courage? And I'm like, well, do you think someone her age wants to do like those heavy prosthetics for a season of a television show?
Yeah.
Like, she's probably moved past that and onto much better roles. But for those asking where Alice Courage was, look no further. And that is all I will say.
Plus, she was the Borg Queen, like, what, 20 years ago? Almost 30 years ago? Like, not everybody has to come back as that character
No,
then. But it
no,
was
and-
great because this is a voice role. She can easily voice and inhabit the character without having to physically show up as the character.
My favorite line was when Boimler was like, wait, that's just my skin tone. She's like, well, you need to drink more water. Oh, by the way, it's just, we're still going to assimilate because, you know, that's kind of our thing. I love that line. It's like,
Yeah,
just kind of
it's
our
great.
thing.
She's
So,
like,
anyway,
oh, you're human?
I can
Uh.
tell right away. It's something she does with that voice. It's silky and scary at the same time, and I don't know how
Yes.
she really accomplishes
you
it.
want her, you want the Borg Queen to seduce you and assimilate you all at the same time.
Remember, that's what I said when we watched the the finale of Voyager, and I was just like, why am I both like scared and aroused? The fact that they had her head drop into her body again was so great. I
So
was like,
cool.
yes.
Yes.
It's like they could have just had her arrive from the shadows, but no, they're like, you know
No,
who it is.
They did the whole
It
thing.
was so great.
Guys, like I said, so many things to unpack in this episode. So good, so many Easter eggs. We talked last week how and I mentioned this a few minutes ago, how like Lower Decks kind of graduated into becoming its own show, relying on itself and not so many Easter eggs. This was just a plethora of Easter egg after Easter egg, Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, episodes that we've already mentioned. And it just worked out in this amazing kind of like perfectly balanced way. Gonna ask you guys, what was your favorite moment or training montage from this week's episode?
Yeah, I was debating because I was like, okay, we got a little bit of Mirror Universe, about a minute in, and that it's
Mhm.
old school too, the TOS and that, her and like the Uhura uniform and that.
Well,
Um,
so okay. I have to kind of be a nerd here for a second. I'm putting my nerd hat on. So the
Do it.
uniforms are
Sorry, you took it
actually-
off for this podcast?
Hit it.
I'll mute
Hitting it.
myself. Just shut up.
Anyway, they're a mix of TOS and the comic TNG uniform that they're doing from the TNG mirror run that's out right now. So it was a mix with like the line down. It was like both a mix of the old and the new. So
It was an era homage.
Anyway, yes, there we go. My Joe knows what I'm talking about because I think Joe reads that current comic line. So anyway,
Alas.
I will be quiet.
You're good. I just thought it was really funny that you're like, gotta put on my nerd hat. And I was like, sir, you run the Star Trek podcast.
My secondary
It stays
nerd hat.
on.
I'm sorry.
My double nerd hat. My monocle.
my Locutus laser cap.
I mean, I feel like it's hard to pick like a favorite moment because like so many of these moments just made me like, like I got that, or it made me laugh. But like, I mean, obviously when Alice shows up as the Borg Queen, you're just like, yes, like you're screaming. But I don't know. I kind of really like, it's like a small moment, but it's during the Mirror Universe part when Boimler notices he's just like, well, our Mariner is right-handed. Like you did the salute with your left hand, and then he goes like, "Ah!" Like the fucking
He was like a
invasion
fucking
of the body
pterodactyl.
snatchers scream.
Yeah.
Like-
Invasion of the body snatchers.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that what that
exactly what
was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
it's so awesome because I was just like, that's not even Star Trek, and it's so fucking funny. Like,
Oh, that's
Wait,
awesome.
But
It's
it
so
did have
good.
Leonard Nimoy, so.
yes, it's true.
Oh,
connected.
that's
That's a connection.
Oh
Mhm.
shit.
But
Oh,
it's just
that's
one of those
amazing.
small ones where it's like it's an Easter egg, but it's not even like completely Star Trek one. It's so
But
good.
they've done that every now and then. They've put like non-Star Trek Easter eggs into the show, which just makes it like that much more brilliant. Yeah, weren't
Just
Marty
makes it funny.
McFly's shoes in
Yes.
the collector's episode a few
I
weeks
think
ago?
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty sure they were.
Listen, like you guys know, I already just went off about Alice Scourge being in this episode and how much I love her and love that moment. But I gotta say, man, Boimler himself during this episode was just everything, saving the Borg babies and then like tying up even more Borg babies and then like bringing adult Borg. And like the best part is when he beams up on the runabout looking like a complete fucking boss.
Oh yeah.
And he's got like Borg babies in one hand, 3 Borg who have this complete look of like, are you fucking kidding me? Speaking of,
Are you fucking kidding me?
look on their face like, did this really just happen? Are we being captured by this nerd? Not that Borg would really think that, but in this instance, they probably were. Just everything about Boimler in this episode. And then like, you know, being kind of aroused like we all are by the Borg Queen is just such a like antithesis of Star Trek and Star Trek fandom. I loved the whole Borg thing. And of course him getting assimilated at the end is I am Excretus of Borg.
His PTSD afterwards
I beat the Borg Queen in chess.
They took
I
everything
love
that
that
I
part.
was.
Oh God.
I was hoping it's because that part happens before like you see her. I was like, oh, are they gonna show that like flashback or like have them do chess?
Mhm.
And then when she shows up, I was like, yes, good.
Yeah.
I taught her empathy. that's
Probably
great.
one of the best simulations that they had was the nod to the Wild West Spectre of the Gun. from
We
the
watched it
TOS.
last night in the
Did
watch
you?
logs. Yeah. Yeah.
And you think you never know where the show is going in that. You think it's like, okay, she's got to fight some. No, she stalls at the horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's there for 1
Apparently-
second and the horse beats her up.
And I love how that's a theme for the rest of the episode. She's like, shut up, horses love me. And Carol keeps like ribbing on her like 2 years
Oh.
of classes. Like, girl.
So good.
Oh, I loved it. Anything else you guys liked from this episode? I know there's a ton of things we can go on and on.
I have a ton listed in Easter eggs. I just thought we were still.
All right,
on
we'll
the-
go
our
there. We'll go
favorite
there in a
moment thing.
second then. Before we do, listen, this episode, yes, is like very Easter egg heavy, but it's also a lot more growth for our team that we've been seeing throughout this season. You know, Freeman giving the lower decks this updated replica with like the pesto, right? And the good stuff. That's much bigger than them just getting a replicator, right? Like they've saved this ship a lot, and Freeman is seeing that, and Freeman is finally understanding like, this is my ship, this is my crew, and they deserve better. And I thought it was a really big moment. I want to know what you guys kind of thought of the ending there.
Yeah, I mean, I
Love it.
think that's what the show's always been building to, and we see it in small snippets throughout the show where they like respect each other for different reasons. But to have it really be acknowledged in this episode, and you know it's going to happen because they switch places, but I think it more so comes from that standpoint that it's like when you have young kids nowadays that will complain about something in high school, for example, and then their parents will be like, oh, I remember when I was in high school, whatever, and they'll like dismiss what the kids are feeling or saying, and not necessarily in a way that they're like trying to be mean about it, but because they don't fully remember what it's like. They're like, oh yeah, but this was fun in high school, or like this will be the best moments of your life, but most people wouldn't wish to be back there.
Right.
So it's that case where they're in the bunks and everything, and Freeman's like, oh, I remember not having a care in the world, like just having to follow orders, it's so easy. But then they have to relive it and they realize, wait, being out of the loop fucking sucks. Nobody treats me with respect. The tasks I have to do are literally impossible and keep being destroyed because nobody cares about the tasks we're doing, and then we have to redo them. So it was nice seeing both of the sides realize what the other goes through, even though they know what the other goes through.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. And then to actually acknowledge that and to have that sort of peace offering was nice.
Yeah, because they came together at the end so amazingly. It was great seeing them on the bridge, actually, tackling
working together.
And not just that, but in like the dangerous conditions we sometimes take for granted, and that with being out there in space, and that being caught up in some slipstream of a temporal anomaly feeding on a black hole, or a crystalline entity feeding on a sun,
and how
Or feeding
badass
on
they
each
are
other.
in those moments where like when they're not busy butting heads with each other or thinking that one's greater than the other, they immediately fall into that synchronicity together where like her and her mom were both co-captaining, and like Tendi was like, let's do this. Rutherford was like, boom, we got this. Like they were all so calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah.
Even though there was like that underlying plan of like, we're just really gonna mess this lady up and this is just a normal black hole. But
And I have to
It was
say,
awesome.
to bounce off what you just said, like it probably won't happen this season, but I would really like in season 3 if we get more moments like this of them on the bridge and tackling like more Star Trek situations with each other, because we're gonna, and I think the season has shown that we're getting past that point of like them butting heads with each other, right? Like this crew is becoming a crew. I know there's been a lot of debate of like, do you keep these kids ensigns for the entire show? I would say you don't. I think we start seeing promotions next season. I think we start to see more responsibility, more moments like this. It could still be Lower Decks. They could bring in new voice actors and new characters and still keep our current ones. This show has endless possibilities, and this was a nice possible preview into like what we could get next season.
I also think it just brings that like respect to the Lower Decks in a way, like to all Lower Decks characters across all the shows, where it's like, yes, you bust on the fact that Harry Kim never got his dues, but at the same time you're like, we acknowledge that. I mean, if there was a simulation, there should have just been a simulation of everything Harry Kim has fucking gone through. That should have been my choice. That was actually what I thought of first earlier, and I was like, that's mean. But could you
dying
imagine?
and having your alternate from
Your
another
alternate
universe
from
take
like
your
2
place.
seconds earlier. Come on board.
Like,
Yeah.
Jesus, what the fuck? Anyway, there's a lot. There's a lot
Still
to
Harry.
unpack
It's
there.
still technically the
Harry.
same exact Harry Kim, just
But
from
is it
2
really
seconds
Harry?
earlier. It is really, yes, it's really Harry.
I know.
It's like the fucking Tuvix conversation. Tuvix didn't deserve to live. Get over it.
Yeah, but I'm fine with them like not getting promoted, even if it takes a while. But like the fact that there's at least that understanding now and that common ground, and you really feel like, when this lady's doing this whole test, and she's like, "You're a California class, nobody cares about you," and like really talks down to the whole crew. Like I get offended as an audience member.
Yeah,
Like, you know the
goddamn
shit
right.
we've been through. I'm a fucking Lower Decks, Lower Decks, Lower Decks. Let's go. And it's so great that now you really feel like they are that crew, that family. As much as the show was growing there, now you're like, yeah, we're there.
Yeah, we're there.
Like
Yeah.
the show could end with this episode, and I'll be like, it was great. I want more, but it was great. They don't eat one pizza slice at a time anymore. And at the end, they still had one pizza slice.
Still
So,
pizza, right?
I loved it. They're nachos.
Joe did mention that he wants some of that lobster mac and cheese that they keep talking about. To which I
Yes.
say, if you get good lobster mac and cheese, it's the best thing you've ever had. But if you get bad lobster mac and cheese, you might not eat it ever again. So just
You
keep that
probably
in
won't
mind.
leave the bathroom. You'll
No,
be
not for-
Excretus all night.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It's my
That's
favorite
what you'll
new
say
sound bite.
afterwards. Yeah,
Yeah, literally.
I
Uh,
ate mac and cheese tonight. It was way past its date, so I'm still here, and I'm not even sweating. So
I made an enchilada stew. It was delicious. It was very good. And I made
I'm sure it was
I made
enchilada good.
I'm not even gonna no.
I want to know what the
Oh,
hell
so
is
it was
going on.
enchilada good? Okay.
Get out of
we
here.
have
Get
it.
off my bridge. Get off my bridge. Damn it.
You know what you have to isolate next is
Yeah.
No,
screw
no,
you.
Haven, you're not allowed to be a Tuvix stan. Captain's
No.
orders.
Oh, no.
We're
Captain's
moving
orders.
on. No
We're moving on.
simulation.
No simulations. Guys, this is probably going to be one of the bigger Easter egg hunts of
Easter
the
egg.
season. Let's get into it. What did you find this week? Hawk, I know you got a list ready to go.
Oh yeah, mainly it came from the board. I started reading the all the stuff that
Mhm.
they actually didn't get into in this one. So Easter eggs I found were carbon-based units, is TMP reference.
Yep.
Yeah, hero
Woohoo.
worship. That was that episode where that kid starts imitating Data and that, so he doesn't have to feel emotions anymore.
Good episode.
That's a move.
Yeah. Time Trap was from the animated series. Cause and Effect was that TNG episode with Kelsey Grammer.
Mm-hmm. And the
Stuck in
Bozeman.
time.
Yep.
Stuck in the time loop. Natural Selection was Unnatural Selection was from Unnatural Selection, the aging episode in season 2 of TNG.
Oh, with Pulaski.
Yeah.
Yes, where they contract that virus.
Mm-hmm.
Evolution was the Nanite episode for season 3, episode 1, I think.
Mayonnaise.
And apparently Survival of the Fittest is from the Voyager comic series, and also an episode of Bridge Crew, the video game.
Oh,
Nice.
damn. They deep cut this
Deep
week.
cut.
I like it.
Noah would know. He plays all
Yeah.
those games.
Was that it?
Yeah, that's about
Brittany.
all I could find.
Mine were just things in the episode that I thought was funny. So, like, obviously, we talked about Boimler's invasion of the Body Snatcher Scream. All the
Yes.
Mirror Universe outfits and the way they were acting was awesome. Like, everybody
Yeah.
was their polar opposite. It was great. And I love how Shax was just like, ah, and then she, like, beats
I
him
love
up,
that
and he's
Paul
like,
F.
"Fair enough."
Tompkins bird character whose name I always forget was
just there.
like was a gimp. No,
Yeah,
it was a
gimp.
gimp.
Oh, yeah. The... I loved it.
I got hardcore Pulp Fiction vibes. I was like, oh god.
No, God. Oh,
Oh,
where's
God.
the samurai sword? Stop. Just grab it already. One weapon at a time. The scene's always longer than you think it is. You repress it every time.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie though.
Anyway,
I saw
Anyway.
that in the theaters.
it's a great film.
It is.
Dude, the Borg Queen not thinking that Boimler was human again because of his skin. It's like a throwback to that episode with the robot already. And then on top of that, it's just because she was like, his skin is so pale and like moist that it's like Data and the other like
He is a
and-
moist
and
vessel.
dry.
synthetic beings. It's just like, oh God. The Borg babies, though, when he opened up the drawer and it was just full of Borg, I was like, no way.
And that's
It
from
was
the first. That's from the first Borg episode. The Q. I always forget which Q episode that's titled, but it's when he sends them
Q
all
who.
away. Yeah, Q who.
Q who?
And they open the drawer and they're the Borg babies. They're
Yep.
so cute. Okay, hey, by
And
the
little
way,
data pad beside them too, and
Yeah,
collecting
you're
all their
like,
vitals.
hey, Star Trek, StarTrek.com. You watching? You listening? Look into my eyes. I'm pulling a giraffe there. Listen to me. Borg baby plushies.
Oh,
now.
God. That's so fucked up.
Give them. I want them. The
You're gonna
next
scare every child
the
in the
next
neighborhood.
American Girl doll will be a Borg plushie. Give
Oh
it
my
to
God.
me. Give it
The
to
first
me.
one's name is Alice. I love that that Boimler was like, Excretus of Borg. That was great.
Yep.
But I will say one of my favorite references the whole episode was the naked now part because it was just great. You know what's coming. Pun intended.
Oh,
then-
I can't even do anything wrong for that one. Oh,
And like Lower Decks is much more progressive than the other Star Trek shows. So like I was waiting for it when they were like everybody in your crew is gonna be like horny and naked and all this other stuff is happening. I was just like, there's gonna be some background gays. We had a little bit of foreground gay, so I was here for it. And
speaking of Brittany, didn't
I
you
have
have
the
something you
background.
wanted to
I
show
do.
us?
I have to show the people. First, the gays. Ta-da! Move, Jennifer.
Love them.
But I love that Mariner turns and she's like, ooh, when she sees the two girls making out, and then immediately turns and sees this
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
and goes, ah! It was so funny.
Do you
'Cause,
know
like,
they
they didn't make it too long, but it was just enough that you're like, oh God.
my
Nice.
favorite moment from that was our Vulcan buddy who's been in like almost every
Oh, yeah.
episode of the show having a
He's
threesome,
having a
looking
threesome.
looking for logic in all the right places. I love it.
So he was
love
stuck between a Spock and a hard place, you know?
Ooh,
Gotta give her the
ooh.
old what? Can I do that on the air? I think we're
Ooh,
banned. What?
no,
What?
I think you can. Ooh, that would
Anyway.
be interesting.
But I thought the best part of that was at the end when like she
wait,
gets shot
hold
up
on, Brittany. Instead of the shocker, would that be called the
the Spocker.
Sukar?
No, the Spocker.
The Spocker. Okay. I was making another bad Vulcan joke. Okay. Oh boy.
Anyway, when Mariner gets thrown out of the airlock, I was like, you know how we always use that gif from Battlestar where it's like throw him at the fucking airlock? It was Rosalind. I was like, yo. That's great. I have a few more written here, but it's all good.
I'll go for a couple. I mean, listen, the ones we won't talk about much of the ones that were talked about or seen in the episode, but like one of the other things on the board was mentioning cues, tribbles, chain of command was on there. Man, I would have loved it. I would have loved a Jellicoe cameo. That would have been kind of the icing on the cake.
I think
okay,
Ronnie Cox passed away though.
Sorry. I think Ronnie Cox did pass away. You're right.
Yeah.
During the
there were enough Cox
ritual
in this
suicide episode.
What?
There were plenty of Cox in this episode. Don't you worry. During the ritual suicide training montage, they had the red surgery suits from when the person did the surgeon wore surgery. Obviously, Search for Spock, Wrath of Khan references all throughout. When they're at the end, this is probably one of my favorite Easter eggs because it's so subtle. But when they're in the temporal anomaly, when they're phasing in and out, that's right out of the motion picture. When they're
with
in
all
the
rainbow
wormhole,
and it's like,
and they're going.
I love that part.
And Chekhov goes, firing torpedoes in slow-mo, and I love that moment.
I like when
Ronnie Cox is still alive, apparently. So
really?
Oh, well, there we go.
We are wrong. Sorry, Ronnie.
Sorry about that.
We just really don't like Jellicoe. Sorry.
So when like the officers are doing their little like lower decks mission, when they're out of the loop, and then every 2 seconds they're like, Klingons are here. Now that's Q. The Jem'Hadar, and it just like goes through all these different groups, and you're like, oh my god, it's great. So I thought that was great that they just threw in Jem'Hadar and recovering Spock from the Genesis planet, and they can't get the ship out of the space dock was just
set a record.
Yeah,
set a record.
I was like, this is great.
I did love this one little Easter egg you pointed out, Rutherford, and the reenacting the Wrath of Khan death scene and that, but
He couldn't get the thing up.
Actual rules of radiation damage.
Yeah.
In that.
He was like, fuck, God, I can't open the door.
Yep.
It was like Wrath of Khan if it was directed by the guy who did Chernobyl.
Ooh.
The best Easter egg of all is just the fact that Boimler will always be a stand-in for all of us fans because he literally wins a simulation due to his extensive knowledge of fucking Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like, he is us.
And
we want to be every other character, but we're all Boimler.
And his ability to always follow protocol down to the letter.
Yep.
Down to the letter.
No buffer time here. I mean, these guys might have been doing some buffer time.
Oh, weren't
You know
they?
what I mean?
Let's rate this episode out of I keep putting the wrong number on here. I guess I missed doing our show. We've been on hiatus for almost a month, so it's getting time to come back. Rating out of 10 Borg babies. I want to see the Borg babies.
I'm going to give it the best number the Borg could ever hope for, 10 out of 10, which reduces to 1, the singularity, their favorite thing in the whole world. Because this is like a perfect episode. I love it. It's exactly what, like, I would watch this anytime. It's exactly what Lower Decks means to me, and it's everything we already said.
Yep.
Plus, look, Boimler already said it. V for victory.
Oh my god. Go ahead, Hawk.
Yeah, I can't find. There wasn't very much wrong with this episode that I could find, so I'm gonna go for a 9 out of 10, and I'm gonna make a special request of Julian that he's got to isolate "Horses Love Me."
You want me to use a soundbite?
Yeah, it's got to be something we could throw at Brittany.
Horses
I mean, I could also just throw it in right after you say it and hear it later. So I'll put it in
Screw
post
you,
tomorrow.
horses love me.
You can use literally any Mariner quote against me because it's shit I would probably say in real life.
It's true. It's true.
Julian knows every episode he's like, there's a Mariner moment.
It's true. Sci-Fi Haven Gavin gives it a 7 out of 9 Borg babies. Well done there.
Very good.
But really 9 out of 10. I'm gonna go 10. I'm 2 perfect scores in a row for me. Like I love this episode. I'm just gonna say this now. Like I haven't seen the finale. I saw last week's episode. Like the rest of the season is just like, from what I've seen, just 10s. And I hate sounding like a shill, but it's true. Like this back end of the season has just been fucking fantastic. So
I mean, this episode basically, it could have been the finale, and I would have been like, it's what we fucking deserve.
it really could have
Like,
been. Like
it was
really
easily
could
a
have been.
finale episode. I was like, this is great.
Yeah, it really could have been. Guys, let's get to the one more rating. Joe gives this one a 10 out of 10 as well. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
come on.
Yes.
Let's get to the subspace poll and mailbag.
Hailing frequencies are open.
Anybody want to take the poll?
I'd love to.
Yeah, hit it, Hawk.
Sorry,
no,
this
no,
episode
you
really
cannot.
got me.
No, you cannot hit the poll, Brittany. You cannot hit the poll. Sorry.
The poll is mine. 22% said Mirror Universe. 19% said Search for Spock, Wrath of Khan.
Yep.
28% said Borg Rescue. And 31% said Naked Time. And I'm having a little trouble hearing that. Is there any
Naked time?
negative or positive here? Because like
No.
No,
But
so
you
you're just picking
forgot
my
to read
favorite.
the top part. That's why it
Oh,
would have
sorry.
made sense.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's
So-
okay.
We asked the Twittyverse what their favorite training montage was, and these were the results.
Nice.
I'll
I got
flip that. I'll flip that
Yeah.
for you in post. Don't you worry about it, Hawk. I got you. Let's do some mailbag. Who wants to read Havens?
Schmow, schmow.
Hit it.
That'll be me. This episode was the ultimate callback episode. It's almost with all the callbacks in the episode that I'd expect to see from a series finale, putting out all the stops. But it was definitely worth all the hype and even worth the bandwidth watching on my 5G network at work on my break. We've all been there. We get
Yeah,
it.
we have. It's true.
I voted in the instant subspace poll on Twitter feed, but I don't think I could pick only one. That's valid. I was expecting a lot more Mirrorverse. I hope this isn't the only part of the mirror universe that we will see here on #Upper Decks. Get it? Because they flipped.
Yep. Before
Flip
we
the
get to the
script.
next one, and I'm going to take Lexi's. She does rate this a 9 out of 10 orgies. Pretty good episode.
4Gs.
I also really quick have to go back to the Naked Time scene because of your picture, Brittany. We didn't talk about Billups and
No,
the
we didn't.
continuity of
Do
Billups.
you love it?
Billups.
Only in the mirror universe was he like, oh yeah. But even here, he's at his horniest on his pad.
Yep. Naked and not doing it with anybody. Dude is a virgin through and through.
We love him. We love to
Love
see
it.
it.
Love it.
Even a virus can't drop that inhibition.
Nope.
Nope. If
Well,
you're gay, you'll still be gay.
Yep.
If you're asexual, you'll still be asexual.
Oh man. Lexi wrote, after joking about an orgy last week in her mailbag, which she did, imagine my surprise at this episode's whole Naked Time segment. Seriously, McMahon, give us the kinky remans, you coward. Agreed. It was all hilariously good. Throwbacks aplenty and fabulous to see the Borg Queen return even before her upcoming appearance at Picard. Reference and sexy time aside, this was a solid one for the characters, really highlighting the issues on board the Cerritos and addressing them. The series masterfully continues to show that it can hold its own alongside the show beyond simply in jokes and callbacks to them. A damn good episode.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Agreed.
Hawk, you want the next one?
Yeah, sure. So Captain Pikachu wrote, Starfleet continues to violate OSHA, even in simulations. But this episode gives me faith that perhaps one day Captain Boimler will change the Federation for the better, because I know he would take OSHA seriously. He
Valid.
would. This is my most desperate hour. Help me, Bradward Boimler. You're my only hope.
I love it. Joe wrote, this one loved this week's episode. The holodeck training scenarios were so funny. I also liked lower decks trading places with the senior officers. P.S. I loved the Boimler Borg escape scenario. Woohoo!
Hawk, you can take the last one.
All right. SMK wrote, it's all been said. This week's episode was great on every level. I particularly loved the chief engineer, Wrath of Khan's save the ship scenario. It reminded me of the trio's commander exam and was a hilarious callback.
Yes. Ooh.
You love to see it.
You love to see
Yeah.
it. What another just great episode of the show. Lower Decks has just been a pleasure and something I look forward to every freaking week.
There's
I
so
know.
many bad, dirty jokes we can make about the show now.
I know. It's gonna be yes.
I
Mhm.
Yeah,
can't
and the
say
show-
it on air.
The
We'll get
show's
mad.
going to beat us to those jokes too. I know it.
Yep. Truth.
Well, hashtag lower dicks if they ever say that.
True.
It'll happen. Give her the old lower dick.
Guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Just real quick, 2 pieces of business. Like I said, patrons, late afternoon, early evening, look out for a surprise coming your way from Ensign, Aaron, and I in podcast form. That is, again, all I'll say about that. Also, very quickly, we have not forgotten about Trivia Night. That is happening. We just have to get all of us finally back together. We have not forgotten about that. That will happen when the 5 of us are back and able to do it. It's going to be a good night. We'll have more details on that. But for now, I'm going to sign off. For Brittany, for Hawk, I'm Julian. Live long and prosper. Majram. Go watch The Naked
Boimler's
Now.
Butthole.
For Boimler's Butthole, go watch Naked Now. It's a hell of a good time. Good night.
Thanks for beaming into our podcast today. If you want to keep the Hailing Frequencies open, you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Like what you hear? Put in a good word with Starfleet and leave us a 5-star review.